My Lords, I rise to speak in support of this admirable initiative by the noble Lord Hodgson, whose expertise in this area is matched only by his determination to get it attended to. I fully endorse his opening remarks, if I may say so, an outstanding summary of these issues. And I also endorse the powerful arguments outlined by the noble Baroness Neville Rolfe. As noble lords will probably know, I have been engaged in one part of this field for about 20 years. Throughout that time, there has been a deep reluctance to address the sheer scale of immigration that has now become central to the future of our society. My Lords, at this point I should mention my non-financial interest as President of Migration Watch. We have been at the forefront of this debate, criticised of course, but we have been consistently correct. I'll give you just three very brief examples. First one, in 2002, we estimated that non-EU net migration would run at 2 million over the following decade. We turned out to be almost spot on. The ONS later estimate was 2.1 million. Secondly, in 2003, the Home Office commissioned research which found that there would be between, wait for it, 5,000 and 13,000 arrivals each year from the 8 new Eastern European members of the EU. We described that estimate as, quote, almost worthless. In the event, the average was 72,000 a year. That is 5.5 times their highest estimate. Thirdly, and lastly of these, in 2013, we estimated that inflows from Romania and Bulgaria would add at least 50,000 a year to the population. More criticism, but the subsequent ONS estimate was 44,000 a year, not 50,000, but pretty close, you might think. My Lords, I mention these examples to illustrate that there is a vocal pro-immigration and indeed pro-asylum lobby in the UK. It follows that any mechanism, such as those proposed in this bill, will have to be very robust, and I think they probably could be. My Lords, the great merit of this proposal for an Office of Democratic Change is that it could cover all the many and important consequences of massive levels of immigration, such as those that have occurred over the past 2 decades. Indeed, it could bring together the true implications for our economy, for our environment, and indeed for our social stability. I believe that the public, while not being experts in statistics, understand that the statistics that have been mentioned can point to very important issues and need to be addressed in an effective and organised way. Indeed, the polling mentioned by Lord Hodgson found that 71% of the population are concerned about the current population forecasts. The public are also concerned about social cohesion and environmental damage. And apparently 65% considered that the government should set a strict cap for immigration. My Lords, I have long believed in the common sense of the British people, and these opinion poll results fully confirm that, in my view. I might just add that a similar percentage, about 65%, support the work of Migration Watch. That amounts to about 30 million adults. When I've mentioned that from time to time in the Chamber, that seems to provide amusement to the Liberal Democrats, but actually it's a very, very important aspect. My Lords, between 2000 and 2020, the UK population increased by 8 million. Between 80 and 90% of that increase, roughly 7 million, was due directly or indirectly to immigration. That kind of increase simply cannot be allowed to continue. So, my Lords, I conclude by pointing out that if by the time of the next election, and I'm a crossbencher, of course, but if by that time the government have clearly failed to take back control of immigration as they promised at the last election, they will have a very heavy price to pay, especially in some critical constituencies. And quite right too.